things a little differently. Like we don't do workouts like in the summer. Like they obviously they work out on their own and do stuff with our GAs, but so we practice in June and July. And then our first day of school we had practice. So like now that you get to this and everybody wants to anoint that as the first practice, it really isn't. So yeah, it was good. It was all right. Just trying to kind of we're playing a lot of different combinations, just trying to see who plays well. Sometimes it's a little bit different when you have 5 new guys. You just don't want to put all 5 of those guys on one team. That's not fair. And so we just try to split it up and help each other. And sometimes certain lineups are bigger, sometimes they're smaller, and you just kind of go from there. But whoever stands out, like from a production standpoint, is gonna really help their cause.
Is there sort of a different vibe this year, and what is it like as a coach when you're kind of watching this maybe come together in a way? Last year's team was very set. This year there's maybe more uncertainty as it's
but we still have 3 guys that as sophomores started on a Final Four team. So and all 3 of those guys are juniors and very productive players. So we have I think a good place to start. And then I think we have some guys that are returning that played on our team that can really enhance their roles. They have to earn that because we have good freshmen that are, coming in, and Caleb gives us a lot of experience. Will and Brian, haven't played much at all, so they're fighting to get into that, that rotation. But Miles and Cam obviously, had their moments last year and in spurts. And that's really hard to do. It's hard to be a consistent player with inconsistent minutes. And so just looking for those guys to have more of an opportunity and compete, and then the young guys to, also try to, find their way, because we need some of those young guys, to help us.
Does the summer, kind of these days, take away a little bit of the learning pressure here, the teaching pressure?
Correct.
So you can hit the ground running a little bit better?
Yeah, no question.
Is that true for your freshmen? Are you seeing that right now?
I think it's true for everybody. Just because, even though you've been here, it's good to get back into that. It's longer if you just go. We didn't do anything in the spring, obviously, because we played until the first week of April, and with the rules you can't. So like when you start back in June, I think it's good to be able to do that. And we play a lot. Like you see how we play at the end. When we play a game for 20 minutes, we'll do that for 20 to 30 minutes at the end of almost every practice, because we run a lot of stuff. So getting those practices I think really helps, getting ready to start. And then now we start, for we go here twice a week in the morning from 6 to 7, just putting everything in, just trying to kind of make, basketball like a class more than anything. And that's what we've done for, the past 10 years, is really like treat it like a class, make sure they understand what they're doing. Just that collective intelligence, I think, really helps.
How much this fall is just going to be about figuring out how you're going to play, because you can go with Trey at the 5, you can go with Trey at the 4, and have size next to him.
Yeah, it's, just the production of it, right? And so like you're waiting from Caleb to Will, to Cam, Daniel, Riley Burgess. You're just kind of waiting to see like who's productive, and like they've all had good days, just trying to see that consistency. And then your matchups, right, from a defensive standpoint, like how are you going to be? I think Daniel gives us the best chance from a shot blocking standpoint. Caleb gives us the best chance in terms of just his versatility and guarding different people. Will's probably the most physical. Raleigh's going to be a really good player, and you're kind of learning our system right now, because that's some good things. So that kind of getting that figured out. 2 years ago, Fletcher didn't have another ball handler with him, so you had Braden, and then you had him, and Fletch really was our 2, and the other guy was really our 3, whomever played there. And then having Lance really helped Fletcher being that second ball handler. So that's where, with Braden, like whoever that could be, at times helps him. At times it doesn't matter. At times you can play like that small forward like Miles and Cam with those 2. Then there's other times people that press or they zone or do things like that. You need another guy in there like Jakari or CJ that has a little bit better ball handling skills. But overall, like you can sit there and kind of angle everything, but it's the guys that are the most productive, right? I think matchups matter. I think blending guys matter, but I think production supersedes that. So some guy's just going to go out there and be great defensively, great rebounding, make good decisions, make shots. Like he's going to find his way.
How does the balance change by swinging the experience into the backcourt as opposed to it being for so long in the front court with a guy like Zach?
Yeah, well, we've always tried to have balance. Some teams are going to be more balanced scoring. Some teams are going to be a little bit different. If they have a guy like a Zach Edey, to where you're going to go to him a lot, you got to understand, like 25 and 13 was his average. So like that just, it's kind of crazy in its own thing. But Braden can make guys that can shoot. He can really raise their value with his ability to pass the basketball. Zach could raise their value with his ability to get doubled. So a lot of people don't like to double for that fact alone. But no, I think we can have some pretty good balance. I would look at the three returners to start with, like Braden Fletch and Trey Kaufman. But like anything can happen. We have quality players.
How much value was there? You were able to ease Cam and Miles in.
Right.
Last year they got to sit back and experience it a lot, but playing time was sparing.
Yeah, Cam's somebody that we could float him to be undersized and play him at the four some. We've done it a little bit in practice, but not a lot. I think it just kind of depends on everything, how people in the back court are playing, how people in the front court are playing, and how he's obviously playing. But no, I would like to think that both him and Miles, their experiences, will really help their cause this year. I don't like speaking on it, to be frank with you, because just when you speak on one guy or two guys or like whatever it might be, you got 13 scholarship players on your team, and I always tell them, like, when you walk in here, like, I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know to help your cause. But the problem is when you walk out and the next guy walks in, I'm going to tell them too. And so like when you do that and you're open and honest and you work with guys, now that really creates a real competitive landscape where guys are going after each other and competing for things. So I think I have a good problem on my hands.
How does that competition in the front court kind of manifest itself between the bigs? And I'm sure you encourage that to an extent.
No question. It's good. You have a lot of different guys. Like Will, really with Zach coming back, that hurt his chances of playing. Really kind of eliminated him. He really needed like someone to get hurt or get into foul trouble to put him there. And we don't foul a lot, so that's something that really set him back a year, and that's nothing he could really control because Zach was that good. So now I know like he's really hungry to play. Caleb has started as a freshman some, has started as a sophomore, and then once again because of Zach, he got shortchanged with minutes there. And so now that's really competitive. Raleigh Burgess has looked really good. Where he ends up in his first year, I don't know yet, but he's looked really good and been very productive. Trey's worked extremely hard. I would be shocked if Trey's not a all-conference caliber player. He's really looked good there. And then Daniel had a good summer playing USA basketball. So, but it's not, the Big Ten's not U18s, right? You have 22, 23, 24-year-old guys in the last year of COVID. So he just has to keep, going at it, keep getting stronger, keep getting bigger, keep working. Because his ability to block shots has got to be a weapon for us. He can catch lobs, he can run. He's good around the basket. Sometimes he gets pretzeled up when he gets too narrow. But for the most part, he's made really good strides. But there's time that guys are so physical and not everything gets called in the practice. He's going to function a lot better in the real game when you get a real whistle. I'm out there refereeing, which is half of a joke.
How has Berg improved since the end of last year to ready himself for this opportunity?
Yeah, he's just kept working. He just kept putting in time. For him, I think he's just got to feel good about himself. I think sometimes when you haven't had that experience, it's hard to make a mistake and recover from it. And I think it's easier to kind of compound something good. You're just trying to get on top of it. And then when something bad happens, it's a little bit harder to shake off. And then for him, just building confidence, just trying to be positive as we can with him. And just go out there and compete. I told him the times that he's gotten here at the end of games, if you go sit for 2 hours, I don't care how good a player you are, you go sit for 2 hours, then you got to play 3 minutes at the end of the game. Most people are dog shit. It's just hard. Think about sitting there for 2 hours. You're just sitting there and hey, I'm not getting in this game. And all of a sudden hey, okay, you get to play here for 180 seconds. Let it rip. Well, you drop the ball, you miss the air ball. How many air balls you seen? He would always play well. he would always go in there. I said, hey, that's the focus you have to have, because most guys, before you get to 20 minutes, you got to do well in 5 to 10 minutes. Then you got to do well 10 to 15 minutes. You got to grow your minutes and get better. So I said, hey, your ability to go in and focus at that time, like people say, well, those minutes don't matter. It matters to the people playing. It matters to me. And so, like, I thought he always did well when he went in there. He was just up against it, you know, because of all of our other guys. So, like, you know, everybody here's pulling for him, you know, to get some success and build off of it.
Screening is such an important part of what you do offensively.
Right.
I'd imagine that's a big part of what you're asking him.
Yeah, it's a big part for all those guys. You know, our execution and what we run and being detail oriented and setting screens is a big piece. You got to play the game, you know, with an advantage. Like, you got to get angles, you got to get numbers, and sometimes you can do that through transition. But a lot of times in the half court, you got to do it through your execution. And a lot of your bigs, you know, they have to be good screeners.
Matt, I know Purdue mentioned just they posted, I'm sorry if you've already been asked this, but about Gene Cady, small stroke last week. Do you have a message to him going forward?
I haven't talked to him yet, but Todd Foster, our academic coordinator, and Elliot Bloom have talked to him. So they said he's fine. He's going to the facility to do some rehab. So obviously just pulling for him, but they said he's going to be fine. So that's great news.
That optimism you're talking about as it relates to Trey, is that based on some specific things you've seen since the end of last season, the ways he's enhanced?
Yeah, you know, he would have had a bigger role for us last year if it wasn't for Zach. You know, it's just hard. And you have to when you get with somebody that's that great of a player, you have to learn to coexist with him, and he did, and Mason did too. And they're two totally different players, but they both gave us, you know, a punch. Mason's ability to stretch the defense and Trey's ability to play around the basket against that second most physical, you know, guy. And that's like right now for Trey. Like, Trey can actually, he could play the 4 for us and be the guy we go to in the post more than anything else, and then let those other big guys deal with those centers. But he was productive. He's been productive in practice. He works very hard. He's a maniacal worker, so he puts in a lot of time. And anytime you do that, I think you really build trust with the coaches. More, you know, guys that can do their job, and guys that are just out there. And, you know, this is their focus. You know, you came here to go to school. You came here to play basketball, and that's what he does. Like, that's his focus. I mean, he keeps his focus right there, and he's waited a long time to be in this position. You know, if we wouldn't have had the guys that we've had, he'd have been in this position before.
When I watch you guys practice,
Go ahead.
When I watch you guys practice, it's competitive, top to bottom. See a guy go smack the wall when he gets stripped.
Yeah.
Guys diving on the floor, and I don't know if it happens at other places. I assume so, but I see you. So
Yeah.
Is that a trait you look for when you're recruiting? Is how competitive they are, even
Yes.
when nobody's watching?
Yeah, your competitive spirit is a big thing. Your skill is a big thing, and just your overall success. You know, like, you're going to see a lot of high major players have success in high school because a lot of high school players don't play college basketball. So like, you get overwhelmed. But when you look into it and you say, hey, does a guy play the right way? You know, does his teammates like him? Does he care about his teammates? Like, all those, you know, variables. We haven't done a better job recruiting the last 10, 11 years. We've done a better job evaluating. Like, our ability to evaluate, to know what works. But it starts with competitive spirit. There's no doubt about that. You got to have guys that have to have a passion. If you're constantly calling guys on the phone and they're with their girl, or they're everywhere except a gym, even though they're really good, like, they're probably not our guy. No different than we've been able to keep a lot of guys versus everybody else because education's had to be a piece of it. It doesn't mean other people don't have good education, because they do, but just what are those guys thinking about? What are those parents thinking about? They're coming to Purdue to get a good education. They're coming to Purdue to win. If you're just going to school for an opportunity just to play, you know, it's not recess. You know, if you're like, hey, like, I don't know if I can play there right away, or it's going to be tougher to play there right away. Yeah, well, no shit. Like, we're successful. Like, we've won games, but it's also because of the people we've signed wasn't scared of that. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, hey, I'll compete. I'll go in there. You know, we have a crowded backcourt, but we got a crowded front court. But that's what championship level teams have. They have a bunch of players. They just don't have 2 or 3 guys. So I think that's the important piece, to keep getting guys of that nature. A lot of people say you went to a Final Four, you won back-to-back Big Ten championships. Now you can go get a better player. I'm like, no, we want to go get the same players that got us there. Like, that's what makes sense. They're like, Braden Smith is way more talented than people think he is, but he's a really good basketball player. Like, Fletch is a really good basketball player, very intelligent. But both of them are skilled and they love basketball, so they fit in that box.
Matt, how have you, or how does it help to have so much success as a program and to bring a coaching staff intact
Right.
season after season.
Yeah, that's good because you just have the consistency, and that's something that we started doing 8-9 years ago when we split it, like football, like offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. And so we split a lot of assignments, and I started it because I was tired of being in huddles and hearing 3 or 4 different things and being more confused by talking to them than actually, getting some clarity. So I like the breakup of that, but I think I like it because of our players. I think it makes sense for them, because now they know when they have an offensive question or a defensive question or a personnel question, like who they go to. And that's really helped us.
Matt, last thing, biggest mentality difference with this year's team compared to last year's?
I think that question gets answered by how we play. When you play with a great player, he gives confidence. He just does. And so I think we have some guys that can really step up this year and give us that same confidence, maybe not the same type of confidence, but I think that's so important. Like I always felt good. I always felt good playing at Purdue when Glenn Robinson was out there. You're just like, man, like I know we got a weapon that they don't have. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Zach, you got a weapon they don't have. But like, I think, I wouldn't trade Braden Smith or anybody in the country. And so I think that's a good place to start. Like Fletcher's intelligence, his competitiveness, his skill, his ability to win every place he's been. Trey's worked so hard to be in this position. Now he's finally getting his, opportunity, but he's also earned it. He's also separated himself from a lot of people, through his work and through his production. So I think those 3 guys collectively can give off that confidence. And that's a big deal. Like having that trust is a big deal. Now other guys, and I think that's kind of the epitome of a really good player is that he makes other people better. And then we can't get enough of that. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Matt.